San Antonio, Texas has a rich history and is known for being the home of the Alamo. That's the original Alamo, not the original Alamo Drafthouse Cinema. That was in Austin, Texas. But San Antonio does have Alamo cinemas. And I had some time to kill before heading home to Colorado, so I decided to come up to Park North to see a movie and check out another theater. This is a Drafthouse Diary for Thursday, February 2nd, 2023. I came up here to see the movie Missing. Because this is an out-of-town location for me, I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to review the movie theater first. But if you're here mostly for the movie review, you can skip ahead to that. I'll let you know where to find it when you jump. From the outside, when I arrived, this did not look like a very promising location. The Alamo Drafthouse Park North is in kind of what seemed like a sketchy, underused, semi-industrial strip mall development. The building that the Alamo was in, it was shared with what appeared to be a very large, boxy event space on one side, some retail on the other side, and the Alamo itself was up on a second or third level that you could access from an outdoor staircase. There were escalators, but the escalators were out of order, and it looked to me from the condition and the debris and the condition of the out of order signs that they had been out of commission for quite some time, and I have no idea when they would have expected to be back. And I presume that somewhere there were accessibility elevators as well. But eventually I made it up to this upper level where it was a large plaza which the Alamo entrance shared with the comedy club that was next door up on that same level. And it was just a kind of a big concrete plaza with a space in the middle for this staircase and escalator. And in general, it did not seem very pleasant or welcoming. But I have to admit, I was here in late morning on a Thursday when it was drizzly and cloudy and gray, and it was towards the end of a week where San Antonio had temperatures in the 30s and rain, which is not typical weather for San Antonio, even in February. So maybe on a summer evening on a Saturday with crowds going to movies and other crowds going to comedy shows and lights on, it would have been much happier, much more fun, exciting, and inviting. I wouldn't want to judge the whole place based upon my experience on this weird gray Thursday afternoon. But my hopes were not elevated by what I saw on the outside. And that's okay, because once I got inside, this was a pretty cool Alamo Drafthouse cinema. First off, as far as the bar goes, the bar at the Park North is not a separate thing stuck on the side of the lobby. The lobby is the bar. The bar itself, a very broad bar, it's the first thing you see when you walk in the front doors. In between the two main front door entrances is the ticket booth, the ticket counter. But right in front of you when you walk in, giant Alamo logo, giant bar, an area where they had some merch. And then extending off to either side of this central area was the rest of the lobby, where you would find the entrances to the auditoriums and also a whole lot of tables decorated with half-sheet movie posters and also movie posters on the walls. The theme at this Alamo seemed to be American movies from the 60s and 70s. It wasn't really that focused. So I wandered around the lobby, took a look around for a while, and right on time, exactly when my ticket became active on my phone, a staff member took the rope down to the auditorium where my movie was and invited me in. I didn't have a lot of interaction with the staff at this Alamo, but when I did, they seemed very quick, very friendly, very helpful. Seemed like a very good staff at this location. The auditorium itself was different from what I am used to in an Alamo, both the Alamos here in Colorado and the other I've been to. It didn't have the rich reds that I'm used to seeing in the decor. It didn't have the movie-themed light fixtures and things like that. It was mostly kind of gray or beige and boxy. I think, based upon some of the light fixtures and other elements, that they may have been going for an Art Deco style, but it really came off more just cold and industrial. The seats in that auditorium did not recline, but they were soft and comfortable. The seats were fine. It was an older style Alamo, so that it had shared tables between two seats. Not a problem. I think I was one of three people in the entire auditorium for this show. But as I sat down, I noticed that things in the auditorium just seemed kind of sticky. The tabletop seemed a little bit sticky. Parts of some of the seats seemed a little sticky. And movie theaters are movie theaters, but one thing that I really have admired at the Alamo is how well they maintain things, how clean they keep things. And it was a little bit odd, especially given the fact that this was the first show of the day, to be sat down at a in a comfortable seat, but with a sticky table. And it made it hard to really sort of relax and be comfortable. The pre-show seemed to be a generic off-the-shelf pre-show that I hadn't seen before. It had a vintage preview of a live-action Japanese version of Mighty Atom or Astro Boy. It had clips from what looked like a movie adaptation of the Epic of Gilgamesh, but I'm not sure what language it was in. I don't think it was Hindi, but I really don't know. But I want to try to hunt that down. That was strange and interesting. Some odd musical clips, some clips from a ninja movie. Overall, it was interesting. Didn't have anything to do with the movie I was about to see, but it was a good way to pass some time, and I enjoyed it. Sticky table notwithstanding, I did order some food while I was there. They did present the Ant-Man Quantum Mania special menu. I think they began that on the 1st of February. That includes orange slices shake and also spicy honey thyme wings. They both sound pretty good. I'm definitely going to try that shake at some point. But I decided not to have any of those while I was there to see Missing. Instead, I got a sandwich that's on their regular menu, but I haven't had before. It's their Breakfast Club sandwich. Bacon and fried egg and Swiss cheese and lemon garlic aioli and arugula and tomato, all on that standard Alamo seeded bun. Although it comes with Swiss cheese, I swapped that out for cheddar. And it was good. They go kind of heavy on the arugula, but it was very good. A little bit messy, a little bit kind of slidey around inside that sandwich, but I enjoyed it. I hadn't had breakfast, so it was just the right thing. But now let's talk about the movie I was there to see. Missing is a new movie, 2023, written and directed by Will Merrick and Nick Johnson. They shared both writing credits and directing credits. It stars Storm Reed. It stars Joaquim de Almeida, a terrific, terrific character actor. You've seen him in so many things. I've seen him in so many things. And once again, he was brilliant. And it also a pretty tight, good supporting ensemble. The story setup is pretty straightforward. Storm Reed plays a young woman, 18 years old. She's on a summer break, and her mom, who's been widowed for a number of years, is going on a vacation to Colombia with her now serious boyfriend. All June Allen, Storm Reed's character, has to do, apart from making sure the house is reasonably clean, which is a challenge given the fact that she spent the week partying. She just has to pick up her mom and her boyfriend when they show up at LAX. And she goes to LAX to pick them up, and they never show. They're just not there. So June goes back home, and she tries to find out if they were on their flight. She calls their hotel in Colombia and finds out that they never checked, or they never checked out, or they did check out, but they left behind their suitcases. And she quickly realizes there's something wrong, something bad has happened, and she needs to find out what from thousands of miles away. And it's a kind of a straightforward story. It's an interesting, twisty story. But the real key to this movie is the way that it is told, or more importantly, the way that it is shown. Because with the entire movie, with maybe the exception of one shot, I would want to double check before I said that even that one shot was an exception, but with maybe the exception of one shot, the entire movie is presented as images on a screen, mostly windows on June's MacBook screen. because June, being an 18-year-old, spends so much of her life online. So much of her life is mediated and leveraged through all of these apps those are the tools she uses to try to solve this mystery and find her mom and contact people who might be able to help. So we're seeing everything in this movie mediated through these multiple screens and through the applications that June is using, and occasionally that someone else is using. We do see June, we see Storm Reed a lot, but when we see her as a face in the FaceTime window on her MacBook. But we're also seeing her web browser so we can see the Google search that she is doing, or we see the gig worker app that she's using to contact someone to help her get some piece of physical information that she needs. Or we're seeing the pop-up video window from the video doorbell in the front of her house. A very cool thing to have available if you're directing a movie that is a thriller. It's a very interesting way to tell a story because on the one hand, everything seems very close and claustrophobic, but on the other hand, so much information from so many different sources can be conveyed on this screen all at once. It meters how we're getting that information because really we're getting it. It feels like we're getting it at the same pace that June is getting it. It puts us into that environment. It puts us into that action, so to speak, because we're seeing everything in the same exact way that June is. I don't know if this movie would work as well watching it at home on TV. Maybe it would. It would be a different experience. I might want to rewatch it that way on my computer or on my TV just to see how it is different because, all the screens I have at home, including a big TV, they're just computer monitors of one kind or another. And watching all the computer monitor stuff on my computer monitor, I don't know that it would have had the impact that seeing all of this on a cinema screen and being able to focus on it. I don't know that it would have had the same impact that seeing it in a cinema did. But I wouldn't call it an experiment. It was an interesting technique. I think it worked. I think the movie is worth seeing. I think if more movies tried to do this, it would become gimmicky very quickly. I understand that Merrick or Johnson did something a little bit similar in a previous movie called Searching, which I haven't seen, and maybe that was a test flight for some of what they did in Missing. I'm just speculating about that. I hope they don't get too trapped in that because I think that the way they handled story, the way they handled character, pacing of the direction, there's a lot more that they can do, as much as I enjoyed this movie. One thing about this movie, and it's more about the cinema, going back to the theater. There was a projection issue at this theater. For one thing, there was a stain near the lower middle of the screen in this auditorium. That's really not acceptable. And also, there was this weird artifact in the projected image at some points, especially near the top of the screen, and it was most visible when there was like a very bright or bright white area of the screen. And when you're looking at a Google page a lot in the movie, there's a lot of times to see this. It was this kind of swirly, smoky, hazy, it almost looked like heat convection sort of twists, some kind of a artifact showing through the image as if there was a problem with the heating or cooling or something going on with the projector. I think I've seen it before. Is there a name for that? If there's a name for that effect and you know it, let me know in the comments. I've been trying to figure out what this might be called. But it was distracting. It probably would have been distracting in any movie. It was very distracting in this movie. There were ups and downs about the theater itself, but I'm glad I visited. I'm glad I checked it out. And I very much enjoyed the movie. And thank you for letting me share it with you. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please consider clicking like down below. And if you want to hear more Drafthouse Diaries, please consider clicking subscribe. But mostly, thank you very much for watching. I'll be back soon. In the meantime, enjoy your movies, and when you do, stay till the end of the credits.